housekeeping notes. Please, if you have your cell phones with you, please ensure that they are on silent. Our executive chair will be joining us, but she's downstairs. We have two events going on simultaneously. So she's doing the welcome downstairs, and Mr. Murray will be welcoming you upstairs. Okay? And there's a few other persons that are coming along, but in the interest of time, and knowing that we have a major event happening immediately after, we're going to start. Maestro? Cohort 7 will be entering the room now in alphabetical order. Cohort 7 consists of 14 immigration officers from the Department of Immigration in Nassau and on family islands, 3 family islands. So, unfortunately, our family islanders will not be here today. But our Nassau, New Providence learners are in town. All of these individuals are senior immigration officers. Jackie, come straight to the front, please, next to Christabel. Come on in. Next person. Straight over, Jackie. Go straight over. All the way in. Go straight up. No practice, y'all. Keep coming in. I'm not calling your name. Just keep coming. I'm not going to call your name. Just keep coming. We're going to call your names a little later. For me, and we're going to open with a prayer and followed by the national anthem. All heads bowed. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Our national anthem.
The rising sun, Bahamas land, march on to glory, your bright banners waving high. See how the world marks the manner of your bearing. pressing onward, march together to a common loftier goal. Steady sunward, though the weather has the wide and treacherous shore. Lift up your head to the rising sun, Bahamas, tell the road you trod leads unto your God. Mama, Good morning. If you're just tuning in, this is our Cohort 7 certificate presentation,
Welcome, Madam Chair.
ILM Bahamas.
At this time, I'm going to call on our Executive Director, Mr. Terry Murray, to formally welcome you.
The Honorable Minister Keith Bell, Minister of Labor and Immigration, Madam Justice Denise Lewis Johnson, Permanent Secretary Cecilia Strawn, my Executive Chairman, Ms. Agatha Marcel, Director of Immigration Keturah Ferguson, our guest speaker, Dr. Donald McCartney, invited guests, and the awardees of Cohort 7. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
I am indeed honored to welcome you to this special occasion. You, the learners, and your employers entrusted us with perfecting your knowledge as senior professionals within your organization. Over a 6-week period, you committed to juggling your work duties and attending classes to provide fundamental knowledge in leadership and management. Truth be told, your certification could not have come at a more opportune time. Today, Cohort 7 learners, you walk away not only with a globally recognized certification from the distinguished ILM Center, a top-tier training organization of the City and Guilds Group, but also locally recognized certification as the ILM Center has recently been accepted and approved by NACOP, the National Accreditation and Equivalency Council of the Bahamas. At this time, I wish to commend your employer, Department of Immigration, for their invaluable support to you learners. They demonstrate that they believe in you and value you. Welcome and congratulations, learners.
Many of you have never heard of this event. I just want to say that ILM is one of City and Guild's top entities. It's recognized globally, and we were truly privileged to have the Department of Bahamas Immigration entrust their staff to us. ILM has a mission statement that states, helping people, organizations, and economies develop their skills for growth. In addition, our vision statement is, we inspire and support people to progress into the job, on the job, and onto the next job by developing their skills every step of their career journey. We recognize and celebrate achievements, helping people to make their skills visible and to support social mobility and social mobility, prosperity, and success. And just so that you all know, we didn't leave our Family Island learners out. They are actually streaming via Facebook and they're watching live. So I want to say hello to, gotta get this right, Natalie Cooper, Brian Davis, Bianca Roll Thomas, and Tamika Russell. So with that being said, our next item on the agenda is remarks from the Deputy Director of Immigration, Mrs. Katura Ferguson. Director, sorry.
Good morning, all. Standing on the established protocol, it's good to be here. What a great day. I couldn't be happier for you. Be proud of this day. You deserve it all. Because of the effort and the dedication you invested in this course. I am particularly impressed with those of you who enlarged your tent as likened in Isaiah 54 verses 2 to 3 by going beyond what you thought were your limits. You overcame your fears and persevered, hence we are here today. This is a step toward being prepared to meet the challenges and opportunities ahead. I trust that you will see what you have learned in this course come to fruition as you work in your daily on the job as well as in your daily lives. I'm wishing you all the best in 2023. I'm expecting great things. Again, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. So, I wanted to piggyback on something she said. They overcame their fears. And that was evident. Can I share? Okay. I'm not going to identify you, okay? But there's this person I'm so proud of. When we had our induction, you're seeing the first day, we brought out these manuals, okay? And everybody in the room said, oh my God, what are we into, right? The manuals were as thick as the book laying down. If you look over there on the table, the one laying down, right? They were as thick as that. And they were like, how could we do this in 6 weeks? I had to say, okay, that's everything, but it's in small chunks. So that kind of relieves some of the fear. An individual said, I can't speak. I stutter. I said, no, we're gonna work with you. And you're gonna get through this. That person was making, speeches, okay? Because he did so well, I was so impressed. Oh my goodness. There was another person in there, you know, that was there, this one. I don't think I can finish this. I can't do that portfolio. That portfolio is too tough. My doctor said you're stressing me out. Y'all won't believe this. On the last day of class, that learner turned in her portfolio. I mean, there was nothing else to be done. Okay? So I am so proud of cohort 7. Y'all won't believe it. And then, on the Family Island, I had a learner tell me, man, this work, I got this work and the work for immigration. This is too much, man, this is too much. That person is one of the 4 that finished. Okay, so we were able to help them manage their time and manage the work. And well, 2 are coming back, but we have 14 that went through the program. Next on our program is my counterpart in Exxon. This individual was my right hand, and at times my left hand during this cohort. I call now on Miss Christabel Saunders from our Exuma office.
Good morning. Protocol having been established, it is my esteemed pleasure this morning to introduce to all of you our guest speaker, Dr. Donald McCartney. Dr. McCartney is an educational, management, and leadership consultant at Motivation Incorporated Bahamas and also in the United States. Dr. McCartney is a pursuer of excellence, a lifelong learner, professionally oriented, people-driven, and organization-focused. Dr. McCartney holds various professional qualifications, which I will read, but they are not limited to what I will read. He holds a teacher certificate from the Bahamas Teachers College, a bachelor's degree in speech communication and rhetoric, with a minor in education from the University of South Carolina, a Master of Science in Education, Curriculum, and Instruction from the University of Miami, a Master of Public Administration with a minor in Planning and Economic Development, where he was the Rotary International Ambassadorial Scholar at Georgia State University. His academic career culminated with a doctorate in management in organizational leadership from the University of Phoenix, where he served as the student commencement speaker. Dr. McCartney also has an illustrious career. He began his career in the public service in Grand Bahama, serving as a student teacher. He rose through the ranks to eventually become a principal. In the private school system, Dr. McCartney served as a language arts teacher, dean of student development, and eventually vice principal. He also served as a professor at several colleges, including Tarif College in Grand Bahama. Dr. McCartney has also pursued work in convention and sales management, with the former Bahamas Cement Company. He served as a human resource director at the Grand Bahama Port Authority and also at the Bahamas Princess Resort and Casino. Dr. McCartney, as a civic leader, was a scout leader, and indeed he was responsible for establishing the first Cub Scout group in Grand Bahama and served as its first leader. Dr. McCartney is a mentor and father figure to countless young men and women. Dr. McCartney's burning desire is to return to his creator totally empty, not because he wasted his talents, but because he fulfilled his purpose. Dr. McCartney's ultimate wish is to leave this world a better place because he passed this way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our speaker, Dr. Donald McCartney.
I'm here by no accident. I'm here because the ancestors say that I must be here. But more importantly, I'm here because God Almighty says that I ought to be here today. Noting that the protocol has been established, we won't follow that path. But let me share something with you to get you a bit relaxed. A farmer was in a bar drinking and looking very depressed. His friend asked him
why was he looking so depressed? And he replied, some things you just can't explain. This morning I was outside milking the cow. As soon as the bucket was full, the cow kicked it down with her left foot. So I tied up her left foot to a pole. I began to fill up the bucket again. The cow kicked it down with her right foot. So I tied up her left foot, rather. I tied up her left foot to a pole. As soon as I finished milking her again, she knocked down the bucket with her tail. And so, off with my belt, and I tied her up her tail. As I was tying up her tail, my pants dropped down. Then my wife came out. And well, trust me, some things you just can't explain. I shall leave that right there. Okay? I shall leave that right there. I want you to think on these things. Right? Think on these things. To say that I am pleased to talk with you, because this is a talk, not an address, on this occasion, it would be an understatement. Truth be told, I am absolutely delighted to have been given the honor and the opportunity to talk with you today. No, that's a bold-faced lie. I'm not just delighted, I am ecstatic to be here with you today. I'm ecstatic because the participants of the 7th cohort are receiving their certificates at a time when the nation and the public service are pregnant with the expectation of change. The kind of change that, if it comes to fruition, will catapult both the nation and the public service to heights second only to that which is experienced at the achievement of majority rule and independence. Having this opportunity to speak to you, to talk with you, was and is my destiny, prepared for me by the ancestors. And I pray God I do it justice. As senior immigration officers, you fall within the rank or the ambit of the leadership of the Department of Immigration and indeed the public service of the Bahamas. Therefore, I have to say to you today, what I have to say to you today may have come of maybe of some value to you as we progress in the ranks of your department. This chat today is not a denunciation of yesterday, but perhaps it may serve as a prescription for tomorrow. This talk with you today is not an angry protest, but it is a sober expression of what you up-and-coming leaders in the public service of the Bahamas must do to avoid the pitfalls that have overtaken a large number of persons in the service. The word is empathy, or not empathy. The word is apathy. This chat with you today is about answering the call to be courageous, recognizing the power of the ego, and commitment to discipline, which is your destiny. It is our destiny, as it relates to your leadership function within the public service. I think sometimes we take leadership too lightly. We must be prepared to take bold steps that would not lead us into the abyss of despair, but on the road that leads us to lift up our heads to the rising sun and press onward to the mountaintop experience, which will lead us to become the proud and productive people we were destined to be. There is still a place called hope, at which we will all arrive and live in the afterglow of our mountain experience. The four fundamental virtues are courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. If adhered to, it will help us arrive at the mountaintop experience. Of the four virtues, I want to spend some time on the one called courage, because this virtue underpins or undergirds the three other virtues. This chat with you will accentuate the focus and the influence of courage on the ego and discipline. And with your leave, I continue. In the third stanza of the poem Invictus, William Ernest Henley wrote, "Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horrors of the shade, and yet the menace of the years find and shall find me unafraid." He tells his readers that he does not fear anything, even in the face of death, and what comes after. He remains unafraid. Maya Angelou, poet and civil rights activist, said, "Courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. You can practice any virtue erratically, but nothing consistently without courage." There is no substitute for a story to make a point clearer. Let me share a story with you. A young martial arts student approached his teacher one day and asked him to show him how to be brave, how to be courageous, and how to one day lead others with courage. The master focused his gaze intently on the young student for what seemed like an eternity, seemingly staring into his very soul. Finally, quietly and calmly, he stated that he would teach the student on one condition, that for 1 month he must go into the city every day and tell every person he met that something good would happen in their day that day. The student must say it clearly and loudly and look directly into the person's eyes when he spoke to them. For some people, this would be an easy thing to do. But it really scared the young student. He was a quiet person, an introvert, and he felt he couldn't possibly complete the task. He mentally wrestled with it for days. He didn't understand why the teacher would ask him to do this before teaching him how to be courageous and brave. Had he gone completely crazy? Finally, he decided he'd do it. What did he have to lose anyway? He summoned all his willpower and traveled into the city. He could hardly speak to the first person he met. He lost his words. His voice came out barely a squeak. He mumbled the sentence half under his breath, but managed to catch the eye of the stranger as he did. The stranger did not look angry, though. There was kindness in his eyes. The student took a little bit of confidence and courage from this. This made it a little easier to speak to the next person he met. And he managed to catch their eyes and speak an inaudible, constructed sentence. He continued with his task. His voice became louder and his confidence grew. He was succeeding. His fear of speaking to strangers had not killed him. He had mastered it. When the task was finally complete, his fear was replaced with courage. This is a heartwarming story. But let us think just for a moment. The pregnant question is, what is courage? What is courage? Courage is not peeking around the corner with one eye on the calculator, trying to figure out when the odds are safest for you to step out and say something. Courage isn't playing it safe. Courage isn't managing risk. Courage isn't a science experiment. Courage isn't working the odds. Courage isn't putting yourself first, always. Courage isn't a statement from your spokesperson. Courage isn't putting someone down. So, what is courage in leadership? And why should it come first? Courage is leaping before you look in the name of a greater good. Courage can be lonely and scary. Trust me, I've been there. Courage is making an impact and leaving a legacy. Courage is knowing why you do what you do. That speaks to having a purpose. You see, we all must answer the call of courage. Nothing is possible without the virtue of courage. Nothing worthwhile is accomplished through cowardice. Sometimes I wonder why today there is a paucity of bravery and zeal. I constantly ask the question, where is the courage and zeal that was exhibited by our forefathers and mothers as they took the long and arduous trek to majority rule and independence? Where did it go? Were their efforts in vain? Though the world, inclusive of our beloved country, seems scary, we must collectively and individually be firm and resolute and don't lose our courage. These are serious times in which we live. As Bahamians, we must face our own frightening challenges. Those of us who are part of this time and place must believe fear, however natural, cannot rule us and prevent us from becoming active participants in building a better Bahamas. It can't be done by the government alone. We must all put our hands to the wheel. Yes, it is easy. It is easy to stand by and find faults. But what are we offering? What are we doing with our courage in regards to offering advice, even though it may not be taken at times? You must have the courage to offer that advice. You know, in the year 2000, when this millennium dawned, we greeted it with tremendous skepticism and fear. But here we are today, this year, the 23rd year of this millennium. We're still here. We're still here. This year will mark the 50th anniversary of independence. And in this 50th year of independence, courage is calling all of us. All of us. Keith Bell can't do it by himself. All of us must be involved. Remember, fortune favors the brave. There can be no progress without the virtue of courage. We did not progress to where we are today because our forefathers and foremothers lacked courage. It took courage. Courage does not always roar. Sometimes courage is silent, inconsistent. It's the foundation of dealing with the ego and discipline. And so let me talk to you a little bit about the ego. And I want all of us in this room, from my friend the minister on down, to listen carefully to what ego can do to destroy us. Richard Feynman, an American theoretical physicist, wrote, "The first principle is that you must not fool yourself. And you are the easiest person to fool." You want me to repeat it? He said, the first principle is that you must not fool yourself. Because really, you are the easiest person to fool. How? You know, like the gorilla who dressed up in a formal suit, bow tie and everything, and he looked at me and says, "How handsome I am." And you know I really ain't handsome. But he was fooled. May I continue? We all have egos. However, we must recognize that the ego can be our worst enemy. Many have been destroyed by a huge thing called ego. Ryan Holiday, in the prologue of his book, Ego is the Enemy, wrote the following. He says, while history books are filled with tales of obsessive visionary geniuses who made the world and their country in their image with sheer, almost irrational force, I have found that history is also made by individuals who fought their egos at every turn, who eschewed the spotlight, and who put their higher goals or their calling above their desire for recognition. We must all melt in the glow of the national aura, because the national is bigger than all of us. Many of us, mere mortals, insist that the main obstruction to a full and successful life is the outside world's fault. We always find the time to blame somebody else. I didn't get that promotion because. This may be so. In some instances, a fair assessment. However, the most common enemy lies within us. It is our ego. And I stand here before you this morning as proof positive that I blame no one for what has happened to me. I take charge of who I am. My mother had 13 of us, and I'm the 11th. Barefoot, hungry, peasy head, walking from Kemp Road to DeVoe Street to Our Lady School, barefoot, every day. Now, I could have sat on the side of the road and cried, woe is me, poor me. But God bless me, I had a purpose. I blame no one. In fact, what it did, it spurred me on. What I was read to about me today didn't come because I sat on the side of the road. I just say that for encouragement. But let's continue. But is it always fair when others, particularly our detractors, confuse or blame a person's ego for their passion and zeal to get things done? Sometimes, in our passion, people say you're egotistical. But we have to learn to separate what is egotistical from what is a passion. Are you with me? Too many times we cut into people and we lay them down and we mow them down because we feel no, sometimes you got to be careful. No, it's not always the person's ego. You must recognize when your ego or your zeal and passion are at work, or you got to know when it's the ego or the passion or your zeal is at work. And sometimes the reality is that jealousy is a serious thing. Know it when you see it. Jealousy larges loom big. There are many men and women from history who have set an example for us to follow. Sir Randolph Fox, Nelson Mandela, Doris Johnson, and the members of the women's suffrage movement, Martin Luther King Jr., Clarence Bain, Mother Teresa, Sir Clifford Darling, Sir Milo B. Butler, Florence Nightingale, Rosa Parks. I can go on and on this morning, listing people who set aside their ego for the common good. And that is something we have lost in this country and in the world today, setting aside the ego for the common good. These men and women all reached the highest levels of power and success by conquering their egos. The strategies they use can be used by us to do our part to improve the public service and by extension our island nation. When Rosa Parks sat down and refused to get up on that bus, she didn't make a big fuss. People around her made a big fuss about it, but it spurred a movement. Ryan Holiday reminds us, and I quote from him again, "We live in an era that glorifies social media, reality TV, and other forms of shameless self-production or promotion. The battle for the control of the ego must be fought on many fronts." It's a powerful thing. By following the examples of these genuine souls who have preceded us, we will be less invested in the stories we tell about our specialness. This will liberate us to accomplish our efforts by creating a better public service and building a better Bahamas. Now let me spend a few short minutes with you with developing the mantra, discipline is your destiny. To master anything, we must first master ourselves. You can't lead anybody unless you lead yourself. Without leading yourself, you become another modern-day Pied Piper. See, I tell it like it is. This is time to reflect. We must master our thoughts and our actions. It is an ancient idea, more urgent than ever in our distracted, tempting, and chaotic world. Cicero, see, I'm going to go back now to them days, way back, the days of the great philosophers. Cicero called the virtue of temperance the polish of life. If you want to be polished in this life, you must have temperance. Without boundaries and restraint, We risk not only failing to meet our full potential and jeopardizing what we achieve, but ensuring a lifetime of misery and shame. The restraint of boundaries have been thrown asunder in our personal lives, in the church, in the public service, in government, in the nation, and in the world. There's no restraint anymore. Boundaries have been busted open. Respect has walked out the door. We can do better. Epictetus, another Greek philosopher, said, 2 words should be taken to heart and obeyed when exerting ourselves for good and restraining ourselves from evil. Words that will ensure a blameless and untroubled life. And you know what the 2 words are? You must persist and you must resist. Persist and resist. But understand what you are persisting about. Understand what you are resisting. Because sometimes some of us persist and resist in foolishness. Plabinius Syrus, a Latin writer, again from that scholarly business way back when, poses a question. And the question is, would you have a great empire, is the question. Would you have a great empire? And then he gives us the answer. He says, rule yourself. If you want to build anything great, rule yourself. Let me emphasize the point about the importance of discipline. Let me tell you a story again. Let me tell you a story. It was long ago now that Hercules came to the crossroads. You know Hercules, you saw him on the screen, movies, yes? Mythical character. At that quiet intersection in the hills of Greece, in the shade of knobby pine trees, the great hero of Greek myth met his destiny. Where exactly it was or when, no one knows. Where was he headed? Where was he trying to go? That's the point of the story. Alone, unknown, unsure, Hercules, like so many of us, do not or did not know. Listen now. Listen up. Where the road diverged, lay a beautiful goddess who offered him every temptation he could imagine. The word is on the beautiful goddess. Listen up. Adorned in finery, she promised him a life of ease. She swore that he would never want he would never taste, want, or unhappiness, or fear, or pain. Follow her, she said, and his every desire would be fulfilled. On the other path stood a sterner goddess in a pure white robe. She made a quieter call. She promised no reward, except those that came as a result of hard work. It would be a long journey, she said. There would be sacrifice. There would be scary moments. But it was a journey fit for a God. It would take him, the person, his ancestors, it would make him rather, the person, his ancestors, meant him to be. You see, the power of the ancestors is so strong that we've ignored it. We've ignored our story that was wrought by our ancestors, and hence perhaps where we are today. But now, the question for Hercules, I guess, and us, was this real? Did it really happen? If it's only a legend, does it matter? Well, I come to say to you today that you can learn from anything if you put your mind to it. Hercules' story is a myth. It's a myth. But can we learn from it? Yes, we can. If it's only a legend, does it matter? Yes, it matters. Because this story of Hercules is about us. It's about us. Because many times in going forward, we need to look backwards to see from whence we came. We need to look back to stories like that of Hercules and that of our ancestors. You see, this is also about our dilemma and about our crossroads. We all in this nation are at crossroads. And individually, we must deal with our crossroads. And nationally, as a people, we must deal with our crossroads. For Hercules, the choice was between vice and virtue. The easy way, the hard way, the well-trod path, and the road less traveled. Which one do we take? We all face this choice. Hesitating for a second, Hercules chose the one that made all the difference. He chose virtue. Now, virtue may seem old-fashioned, yet virtue translates to something very simple and very timeless. That which is excellent, moral, physical, and mental. In the ancient world, virtue was comprised of 4 key components: courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. Virtue, ladies and gentlemen, is something that we do. It is something we choose. Not once. For Hercules' Crossroads was not a singular event. It is a daily challenge. One we face not once, but constantly, repeatedly. It was once said of me by a very well-known figure in the world of politics, minister, that I was bigoted. And if I wasn't so bigoted, I could have had any position that I wanted in the public service. I'm just telling you the truth. And you know, minister, I say, thank God I have the sense to be bigoted. Because sometimes not all that's offered to you is what it seems to be. You know, I look back now in my 77th year. I have more years behind me than I have before me. And wisdom says, boy, you made the right decision. You don't see it at the time. You don't see it. But as you grow wiser and older, you understand it. I'm going to be ending shortly. Will we be selfish or selfless? Brave or afraid? Strong or weak? Wise or stupid? Courageous or cowardly? The bliss of ignorance or the challenge of a new idea? You know, ignorance is bliss. Are we going to stay the same or grow? Are we going to take the easy way or the right way? Those are the questions before us as we move forward as the cohort who have made it through this course. Well, I will say this to you in closing. Beware of arrogance that seems to come with the attainment of further qualifications and promotions, which has led to the assumption that power is immediately attainable and must be hung on to at all costs. Power is fleeting, it's ethereal. only for a season, and only He determines how long you will hold it. He gives and He takes it. When you have been given access to power and authority, know when and how to use that power and that authority. There are some who use their power and authority against me, and they all lay 6 feet. Today, I'm still alive. And I'm alive for a purpose. Because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be here today to speak to you. Hanging on to power never ends well for leaders or followers. Genuine leadership is not for the faint of heart, the weak stomach or bowels, and weak knees. Leaders who cannot police or lead themselves cannot police or lead anybody else. Leaders must put their houses in order before they can inspire their followers. Put your house in order. Leaders must be aware of their responsibility to help others. I repeat that. Leaders must be aware of their responsibility to help others. And I'm going to say something here that's probably not in my script. And no insult to you, minister. But too many of us in this public service, leaders and all, we want to form alliances with politicians. Your job in public service is not to be a politician. As I told one of my mentees when she assumed a high position in this country, when you go into that ministry, calm down, little sister. When you go into that ministry, I want you in your first meeting with the minister to say to your minister, Minister, there are only two politicians in this ministry, you and the other fellow. I come as a humble public servant to do my job. I'm not a politician. Because what we must remember is, and you know this too well, Minister Bell, you know this too well. Ministers and politicians come and go. But the public service is ethereal. It goes on and it goes on. And when you link up those two, the public service and the political service is not good because you lose what you're supposed to do when the politicians are gone. There's a use for all of us, the politician and the public servant. But know your role. See, familiarity breeds contempt. And sooner or later it catches up with you. Be wise. Let me now close with something Captain James Cook, a British explorer, navigator, and cartographer, and captain in the Royal Navy, upon reflection of his voyages to Polynesia in the late 18th century, he wrote, here's what he wrote: "It would have been better for these people, the Polynesians, never to have known us." End of quote. So, would it not be a pity and a failure of your leadership for you to come to the same conclusion about the impact of your leadership upon those whom you led? I need say no more. A word to the wise is sufficient. A word to the foolish is indeed wasted. Ms. Marcel, may I present you with a copy of my presentation? And I have one here also for the press, if it is needed. My good friend. I now yield the podium.
Wow, that was powerful. Let me take this time to read some of the comments that were coming on Facebook. Congratulations to all SIO colleagues. To God be the glory, all the glory, for we did it. And this is a culmination of our hard work and perseverance. Oh, this is somewhat unable to be there, but watching from Freeport, so you all know who that is, right? The other one says, congratulations to all, especially my brother
Naphtali.
Cooper, sorry. Then, oh Jackie, you have a fan. Yeah, Jackie, this person says, congratulations, Jackie. And then Sherma Ewing says, congratulations to all. One of the guys in Freeport, I don't know who this is, he says, persist and resist. And Ted Taylor says, congratulations, Auntie Kim. Do we have a kid? Oh, that's you? Okay. All right, and Ayala Bahamas says, congratulations to all. Okay, there you go. Y'all got fans out there. Yes. And that's evidence that our Family Island participants are watching. Now, without further ado, and with all protocol being established, and everybody knows my minister, please stand with me to welcome Minister Bell. The Honorable Minister Bell.
Please be seated, everyone. Madam Coordinator and Moderator, Madam Justice, PS Director, I stand on the established protocol. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I don't have a speech to share with you this morning, but I want to make a few remarks. Miles Monroe said 6 powerful words: hard work plus opportunity equals success. That's the first thing he said. In assuming the position of Minister of Immigration and Labor, one of the first things that I saw was that we needed to expand and retrain the entire immigration department. In addition to that, as the director has always reminded me, she has 45 years, 44 years, and collectively, let me say, the entire executive team of the Bahamas Immigration Department have in excess of 250 years of experience. The entire top may retire within 2 years. And I said may. The entire top. And so the director has warned me. She has set out a path to ensure that she prepare the Bahamas Immigration Department to take the baton from her. I am very pleased to be part of the ceremony today by the Institute of Leadership and Management and the National Training Agency. Important for me is one thing on that board up there, or rather it's not up there, but as we seek to train the Bahamas Immigration Department and expose them to further training and development, we have to ensure that the courses that they do are fully accredited. And so I wish to highly commend the Institute and certainly the National Training Agency for putting this course on. It is my hope that the entire immigration department will be able to take part in this training. So I hope that this is ongoing and this is just one sector for the entire department, and not necessarily just for immigration, but certainly the wider public service, based on what I've seen the course content that you have covered. Now, let me say why it is important, and like I said, I'll be brief. I will outline very quickly the successes of the Immigration Department, but I will also outline the challenges for the future leadership of the organization. And let me say to each of you graduates that each of you have been chosen by the directorship, not for what you have achieved, but for what you are capable of doing in the department. Not for what you've achieved, but for what you are capable of bringing to the table as we seek to enhance and take the Bahamas Immigration Department to another level. The Bahamas Immigration Department is one of the largest revenue earners of the government. in the public service, if not the largest. Customs collect customs revenue, but you actually generate substantive revenue. I think you're the largest. Secondly, the Bahamas Immigration Department is the only institution which is in our Constitution. Your responsibility is outlined in our Constitution. Now, Madam Justice, of course, I'm not talking about the legislature, the executive, or the judiciary. I'm talking about a component of the executive. The protection of our sovereign integrity, that is your responsibility, so that is sacrosanct. We have had the largest successful without incident number of repatriations in our history. And so all of these significant successes means that for each of you, as we move ahead, the challenges are going to be much greater. Now, what are those challenges? And we've had a number of discussions. Up to this morning, I've had discussions with the Permanent Secretary and with the Director up to yesterday. And this is not in any particular order, and I wrote down some notes. Let me say, first of all, there has to be, or the department is moving in the direction of a complete strategic review, evaluation, and recommendation for change. It has to come within the Immigration Department. The Royal Bahamas Police Force undertook a comprehensive strategic review in 1990. I think the government spent in excess of $2 million. And non-Bahamians came in to tell us what we ought to do. And at the end of the day, the Bahamians had to come behind and restructure the entire police force. I was part of that process. I was part of the process with the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, with the decentralization. And I was also part of the process with the restructuring of the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services, all the way down to the drafting of the legislation in both the police force and for the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services. It is anticipated whether I remain the Minister of Immigration and Labor, or if the Honorable Prime Minister puts me somewhere else, even outside the cabinet, I intend to lend my expertise to ensure that the Bahamas Immigration Department becomes the beneficiary of a complete overhaul. And we have started that work already. And so, in addition to there being a complete strategic review and evaluation, the future leaders of the Bahamas Immigration Department, when you receive the baton from this executive team, will have to determine how we can completely manipulate and exploit this $30 million database system that we have. The future leadership will have to determine how we break away or expand from the Public Service Commission. The Bahamas Immigration Department is tied at the hips with the Public Service Commission, unlike the Royal Bahamas Police Force and some to a certain degree the Defense Force. And so we have to determine whether or not how we're going to do it, whether it impacts constitutional change, because it cannot be for a department which is so significant and important that every time we need something done, we have to go through the public service, and through that Public Service Commission, we cannot get the promotions in a timely manner. We have had persons in immigration who've been in those ranks for up to 15, 20 years in one rank. And so for me, it is completely unacceptable. And this is not to blame any specific administration. It is just the system has to be changed and fixed. And so with this particular training, this institute, the institute says it is what? The Institute of Leadership and Management. And leadership and management, as the speaker spoke of, incorporates any number of things. And so I'm challenging you for these things. We're going to be looking at decentralization of the Immigration Department. It has to come. Have to come. And so if we're talking about the construction of a detention center down in Inago, in my view, it ought to be headed by perhaps a deputy director of immigration. There has to be an overall and a review of the establishment of the Immigration Department in terms of the role and the portfolio of each of the assistant directors, the deputy directors in that department. And so the future leaders of the Immigration Department will have to have the tenacity, the courage, and the fortitude, and think outside the box to develop the department to where it ought to be. Relocation of the department We've been talking about that for any number of years. I won't say too much about that. The shanty towns, the future leaders, and as a matter of fact, the entire immigration department are going to have to determine how we're going to have to do this. Because we can't say we're going to go in there and bulldoze a shanty town when we know that Bahamians live in there, documented migrants live in there, where we're going to put them, how we're going to do it. It has to be done in a humane way, with respect for the law, and ensure that at the end of the day, we do not allow the proliferation of any future shanty towns. Those are very critical decisions which cannot be made on emotions. And this is why it is important that all this deep bench that we got in immigration, that we expose all of you to leadership and management training. Further to this, and these are just 10 points I wrote down, is that there's going to have to be a complete overhaul of the Immigration Act. How are we going to strengthen the penalties? How are we going to strengthen the fines? How are we going to look at this asylum bill, if there is going to be one? We have signed onto a convention some years ago. How are we going to look at this issue of citizenship in our country? All of these different things, as the society demands more of us. Those of us who are in the field, those of us who experience and work with these people every day and know the challenges, you're going to have to advise the politicians as to how we ought to lay out the legislation. We're going to have to develop a complete, comprehensive, written manual, one policy document relating to how the entire immigration department functions. And finally, I have asked, reviewed, and I have told that the Bahamas Immigration Department is not a disciplined force within the meaning of the Constitution. The Honorable Fred Mitchell would have done it recently with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and that has significant implications. And so that is something, again, that we're going to have to consider. Those of you who will be the future leaders to govern the affairs of the entire department. It is anticipated, I anticipate, and the director knows I try not to call at 2 a.m. 3 a.m. in the morning anymore. I'm my permanent secretary, but my day starts at 1 a.m. And so as I am buzzing, from 1 a.m. onwards in the morning, director and my PS and all of you, once we begin the process, well, actually we have started the process with the training of identifying the future leaders of immigration. And so I expect and I anticipate, whether I remain in the chair or not, that many of you will fill those positions as we expand the immigration department. But again, I say to each of you, put your best foot forward. Take advantage of all of the courses. Know that there is a whole lot that you can learn. There's a whole lot that you have to ensure that you expose yourself to, and bring up the others with you as you go. It is important because if any of us fail, then all of us fail. When you succeed, we succeed. We all look good. And so that is my charge to each of us, that we able to enhance the Bahamas Immigration Department. And as I indicated as I started, I want to congratulate and commend the Institute of Leadership and Management, the National Training Agency, for all the work that you have done. Many people do not know what it goes into putting these courses together, the content, evaluation, and especially when it is an accredited course, there is a standard that has to be maintained. That is when you get your certificate, it is a certificate that you can take and show the entire world. That's how important it is and significant it is. And when we assess each of you, that may be the certificate that pushes you past the post. So with having said that, I wish to commend each of you, congratulate you, and I wish to congratulate you, Madam Gomez, and certainly Director, and all of you for what you've done, Ms. Marcel, Director. Thank you.
We've reached the point of our certificate presentation. Murray, please join Minister and Chair at the front. As I call you learners, please come and collect your certificate. Mr. Montello Gibson will be accepting on behalf of our Family Island learners. Director Permanent Secretary, please join us as well.
I'm going to decide or take it out because I got to stand here to take the pictures. Come like on.
Next in the middle. All right. You ready? Ready. All right, Jackie Adderley. One more. Dana Burrows.
Yes, okay. Congratulations. This is the silent person.
Darren DeVoe. Shinori Francis. Kyra Ferguson. Andrew Gittins.
Pick up their eye.
Luben Lutus. Ursula Oliver. Elmore Pratt. Delarice Pratt Bastian. And lastly, Mr. Montello Gibson, accepting on behalf of our Family Island learners, Naphtali Cooper. Naphtali Cooper. Thank you very much. I never get it right. Brian Davis. Bianca Roll Thompson. Thomas. And Tamika Russell. Got it. That's it. Definitely. We've come to that point where we want to hear from the learners, or one of the learners. Any volunteers?
Pratt.
All right, don't make me call on you. So to make this quick, this might be the moment.
Well, good afternoon, all.
Good morning.
Still morning?
Good morning.
Okay, I don't have on my glasses, forgive me. Well, we made it. It's like Ms. Gomez said, I remember the first, my story is a little different from most. My name is Bastian. I wasn't originally a part of the chosen few to join this course. And it just so happened I was in Mr. Gibson's office one day, and he said, man, two of the officers said they can't participate. And I said, what you talking about? He said, this course. I said, well, sign me up. You know, and he said, okay. And he told me to report the next day. And like she said, the first thing she gave us was this big book. And I'm trying to process in 6 weeks, how are we going to read this book? And I'm asking, but we still have to go to work. We don't have time off, we still have to go to work. But being a part of the group, I think we all sharpen each other. And we are able to process and grow together. And we are able to share our concerns in relation to the department, the issues we are facing, and where we want to see the department grow. And so by that, we are able to achieve a lot and glean a lot. Mr. Miller was a big help to that. I think the course would have been a much difficult one if Mr. Miller wasn't at the helm. And even at the end, he's like, nobody gets left behind. We all gonna get through this. He made himself available all hours of the night. We created a WhatsApp group. I think it was Miss Clinton Burrows asked, you don't sleep in Mr. Miller. And he was always giving us a word of encouragement. And like I always say, leadership is a ever-changing thing. Some of the lessons learned in the past, some of the application of leadership that worked in the past, they are outdated now, obsolete. You have a new mind, we're in the 21st century, we are more technology driven. As the Honorable Minister said, even the act has to be upgraded now to accommodate this change. So some of the skills learned in this class, I know has prepared us to be better leaders in the future. And we understand, like I said, we just passing the baton, passing it on. The next cohort, their training is going to be different, their ideas are probably going to be different. But we must be open to that. And that's one thing this course has taught us, to be open to new ideas. Don't try to be the dictator, because this new group of people, they speak back. And if you have that mindset, you have to do what I say, you're going to get offended very easily. So you must create an environment where your staff can speak and voice their concerns. And like the keynote speaker said, you got to have courage. You know, we want to make it easier, because it isn't easy going to management or to your leaders and say, hey, I have an idea. And this might contradict what you're saying. But I believe my idea is the better idea. Not so blunt, but I'm just saying, and you must be open to receive it and not feel small or challenged by it. And so these are some of the concepts that we have gleaned from this class. And with that, I say thank you, Mr. Miller, on behalf of the whole cohort, 7. We thank you for your inspiration. Even up to now, he still inspires us to be our best. So we say thank you, Ms. Gomez, Ms. Sasso, the technology team. We say thank you to the directorate for allowing us to be a part of this course. Thank you all.
Executive Chair, I'd like to call on the ILM team to stand up, come front, forward, so that we can see who you are. Carry on, where you going? We don't nothing without AV. Come. Christabel, why are you still sitting? Ms. Lyon, you part of this team too?
Oh, let me take the picture.
We call on you from time
She
to
gonna
time.
take the
Go
picture.
sit back there.
No, for it.
I gotta tell y'all something. Mr. Miller was the most recent member of the team. And I'm gonna be honest, we tossed him in head first. We did, I mean, what can I say? He did an assessor. It was last minute and he was here. So, I mean, he did an awesome job, mind you, we were on him. Just like the learners were on him, but we came through and it was a team effort. Christabel was an exhumer. She was our internal verifier. She had to verify every question there was. And Ms. Sasso, she is our administrator. Every copy that needed to be done, every portfolio that needed to be scanned that wasn't scanned, and those are portfolios, those are the actual work that have been graded by Mr. Miller. And that big portfolio that you see laying on the table, Minister, that's Mr. Miller's portfolio because he has to cover every learner in the cohort. So that's why his was bigger than everybody else's. But they all did a great job. And I am so proud to be a part of this team. Give our vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. I do want to say that we want to say thank you to all of the distinguished people that's here. And to the graduates from the ILM program, it is a testament to you and your value to the department that you would get a minister, a permanent secretary, a director, and a senior deputy director. I think yes, it's the second one. Okay, to be here to validate you. That is almost unheard of, especially in this busy time. So I really want to thank the executive team for understanding and realizing the weight that ILM and the program, the training program has. I want to say to you all, when the coordinator came, Chair, they say they have so much work. Chair, the program needs to be longer. Better tell you what I told her. What's that got to do with me? ILM is about leadership, building, and management. This is what we do, who are good at what we do. We don't count. If I wake up 1 o'clock in the morning, that's not working. I guess I'll have to get up 12, right on the dot or something. That's what we do. And ILM is designed not to come dumbing down to you, but to up you to them. That's how you're going to stand out. If you're just like everybody else, nothing's happening. And I can tell you, for what I see, these two, oh my God, they inspire me, director. You inspire me to push for this team. As long as I sit here, you all won't get away with any, it's not gonna happen. And so I thank you all for understanding what leadership requires. I thank your team. I want to thank especially Mrs. Saunders. Mrs. Saunders is an exhumer. And without her work, because the good thing about this minister is this is no, I like you so you get a pass. Don't work like that. You earn your pass and then London says you get a pass. And that's the wonderful thing about this. You can rely on it. And so Miss Saunders, for all the work that Mrs. Saunders, for all of the work that you do in making sure that they get what they should get, we thank you. Now, I know our guest speaker, Dr. McCartney, we were able to know that we could trust you to be here, to input some words of wisdom and to share with this graduating team that we are very proud of, very, very proud. And you will be the example to the public service. Because when we told them that how many of you were here doing this program, NACOG gave me no stress. In 2 weeks, NACOG registered us. I want to thank you for that. But to get back to our guest speaker, we can't tell you how appreciative we are of the fact that you came from the States to speak to the group. We know what your contribution to the public service has been. We know it wasn't easy, but it's never supposed to be easy, Director First. It's when it is not easy that it pulls out the best out of you. And you're going to fall and get up, like you so aptly demonstrated, but each time you get up, you go further. And so we have a small token for you that I would like to present, because I think you would totally understand every word in this. As a matter of fact, you are a part of some of the words. So yes, so if you can just come and give it to me.
Before you do this, please stand up and give us. Gibbons was one of my students at Bahamas Catholic High School. He was good looking, man. I don't know how. I just want to bring that to your attention. One of my brothers. Don't let me down.
Yes, sir. And so, this is my latest book, authored, called Reposition, Here to Air. And it demonstrates what it takes to be an heir. So, thank you. Thank you. All right. So I thank you all, our staff, Jaden, for being excellent tutor. And I just want to leave this with you. This is something that Bishop Samuel Green, deceased, said to me. He said, Marcel, you could be a king or a kingmaker. Marcel prefers to be a kingmaker. Amen.
close that this cohort did. There's 4 levels with City and Guilds. There's high, there's medium, and there's low. What do you think that means? It has a standard. So high risk means there's a chance of copy and plagiarism and all that stuff, right? Then there's this medium level, that's medium risk. Low means there's no risk and you got every, pull. You could knock on City and Guild's door and say, I want my certificates tomorrow. So guess what happened? And this cohort did it. We got low standard designation along with direct claim status because of the work that the assessor and the internal verifier did on this cohort. Never before has this center gotten an upgrade. Our ceremony has come to a close. There's one little thing I'd like for you all to do, to just join us in the podium for one group photo, and we're all done. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate each and every one.
Thank you for tuning in to our Cohort 7 certificate presentation, ILM. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day and God bless you.
I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in to our Cohort 7 ILM certificate presentation. Thank you so much. God bless you. Congratulations to all of our recipients of the Level 3 International Recognized Certificate from ILM. Have a great day, everyone. God bless.